I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Okay, well, I guess we're recording. So, welcome to Total Apex Media. This is a kind of last minute, change up. Always got to stay on your toes. Um, Normally, we're live streaming every Friday night, but this time it's gonna be recording. So, stick around for next week's show as well. It should be back to normal programming, and then the normal shows we do on Tuesday from Total Apex Media. So first, we got to get started with some news. We got some sports news with the NBA, MLB, NFL, obviously, and the Winter Olympics. First, there were talks with the Finns with all their recent releases that we covered on Tuesday's show. Um, you know, uh, we have some talks of Minka potentially get traded again, and then I had to include Max Crosby again because the Raiders apparently it's been rumored that they have a price tag on his um, potential trade package. But first, I can't be a good host without introducing all our guests.
Yep.
We got Brandon Ellis from Total Apex Sports, Justin, our main site manager for Total Apex Sports. We got Brandon Dutz, who's a writer for Total Apex Sports, and then obviously Chris, who writes a little bit of everything
Yep.
with gaming, Total Apex Gaming as well. But yeah, let's just start first with the NFL trade stuff. I guess like what's the outlook on just like the Dolphins next year? We can start with the new guest on the podcast, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I don't really know where the Dolphins are going next year. I don't think they have a clear answer at quarterback. I think they're going to end up releasing Tua, taking on that historic dead cap. I think trade Minka makes sense. Excuse me. What he'll fetch in return? Probably a late day 2 pick, maybe a 4th, 5th. I don't think he's going to go for much, especially because he's on an expiring deal. I think the Cowboys fit that well there. Obviously, their secondary last year was horrendous. But for the Dolphins, I really don't know where they're going. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams next year, and they just don't have an answer to anything. Offensively, they have Devon Achane, quarterback's a mess, offensive line's a mess, and that whole defense has to be redone. So I don't really know where they're going, but I'm excited to see what the new regime can turn it into.
Right. Chris, I know you talked about Max Crosby, but do you think like them or the rumor details of them like wanting to first, like that's kind of like realistic?
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, but like
I
was gonna say, I mean, he could very well be worth it, but I think if that is truly what they're asking for, and then they're not willing to come off of that, then I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. I don't think anybody's gonna pay that price for anything other than a quarterback in this league. And even then, I mean, it depends on who the quarterback is. Obviously, we saw it happen in Chicago a little bit, and arguably, it was not seen favorably, looking back on it, So I'm not sure if that's just posturing, and they're saying that's what the price is in order to try to see what the highest bid is gonna be, or whether that's literally what they're actually the only thing they're willing to move him for. But if in fact that is what they want, they're not getting it. So either they're gonna have to come down off of that, or he's gonna be a Raider next year. So
Well, we saw last year with the Parsons trade was
was 2 first-round picks, and
Yep.
their starting D tackle, and then the Sauce Gardner trade was 2 first-round picks. So at the deadline,
Well, that was
so
a bad mistake. That was a horrible deal.
that was a
Yeah.
horrible
bad.
trade.
Yeah.
That was
That was a
bad.
horrible trade for the Colts.
That was terrible.
So
Yeah.
when you look at what the Raiders are looking at the market, especially the Parsons side of it, like it was 2 first-round picks. The starting D tackle from last year from Green Bay, his name's slipping my mind right now. What's his name? Kenny Clark. Yeah,
Kenny Clark, yeah.
that's the
And
one.
Crosby's also under contract.
That's
Parsons
fair.
needed a new one. So that's
Exactly.
a big
That's
difference
a lot of money.
value-wise.
I did forget it was 2 firsts for Parsons. I did forget
Yeah.
that. Although one could argue that didn't pan out for Green Bay either. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
they
he was
were arguing.
helpful.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he was worth 2. I don't know. I mean,
Maybe.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
yeah, I mean, he did get hurt. I would like
Yeah.
to see what he would have been in the playoffs for them,
mhm.
but I agree. I mean, it didn't work out for this year for Green Bay, but it might work out next year. You don't know until
Yeah.
next year's being played. So,
Right.
I'll start with the Chicago Bears topic, Andrew, to move it along. Them going to Indiana potentially. It is 20 minutes from where Soldier Field is located right now. As they said on, I think, First Take this morning, it is 20 minutes from where Soldier Field is currently at. So it is like kind of still close to the Chicago side of it. It's not as a bad move as like, it's not. It's comparable to where the Los Angeles teams are playing in Inglewood and
Mhm.
the New York teams are playing in MetLife in New Jersey. It's comparable to those. I wouldn't want it to happen though because of the historical factor of the Bears. That's just where I'm at with that.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. I agree with Brandon saying, Soldier Field's been there a long time. You want to keep it in Illinois if you can.
Yeah,
It's all about money, about tax breaks, and getting money for this. It's all about money. Who gives a better deal? With the legislature, what they can agree on.
right. And then, pairing that with Indiana, Kurt Signetti got extended,
Yeah.
well deserved for that Indiana team. So, I don't want,
I have to shout out my Dukes legendary JMU coach right there, Kurt Cincinnati, get his money.
I never thought he'd be this good. He's unbelievable. He's been shocking. I wasn't big. I didn't follow his career at JMU like you were, Brandon. But man, he's done a hell of a job. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
right.
The turnaround's been historic. It's been crazy.
yeah.
Not even with big prospects too. 3 stars.
Exactly. Yeah, like
Guys that were
Mendoza
all
came out
conference
of
from smaller leagues, and he just did
Exactly,
work.
gets a good-
You don't see
gets
that
close
often
to-
nowadays.
No, it's all
Yeah.
about the money
Yep.
behind the people.
Yeah, and then I want to touch upon Black History Month that we're going through right now, and acknowledge Ray Scott, the first ever Black winner of the NBA Coach of the Year award. He was with the Pistons for the 3 seasons, and from the 1972-1973 season. But what are, I guess, some other takeaways for this month in the world of sports?
Obviously, we have to talk about Jackie Robinson and his
That's
impact.
the obvious one. Yeah.
That's the obvious one. Onto the game of baseball and pioneering, the desegregation of many sports. So without Jackie Robinson, we wouldn't have what we have today. Bill Russell, as we'll mention later on in this pod, Bill Russell was one of the best all NBA players in the 60s. Him and Wilt, but mostly Bill. It's mostly Bill Russell who his advocacies and his main spreading the game. During that time was also good. Another one too. Oscar Robertson, another guy back in the late 60s, early 70s, did the same thing. Julius Erving got into ABA and NBA. There's several key Black, African American figures that we have to highlight during this month, and it's hard. It's so many that we don't have the time to really go over, but just wanted to make sure we go over. Jackie Robinson, especially Gale Sayers in the NFL as well. So those were the ones I wanted to highlight.
Yeah. Moving along, we have the NBA. You know, it's kind of dealing with so many injuries. You know, Curry and
The whole league.
yeah, Curry has another setback. You know, the Kings, like their whole team's actually hurt. Like their
Yeah.
Sabonis is done, Levine, and yeah, it's
DeAndre Hunter like was in season ending too today.
Mhm.
It was just announced a little
Oh,
before
okay.
it started. Yeah.
I missed that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it just was announced about maybe an hour ago.
Okay. Must have just, I guess it just didn't catch it.
Yeah. So you know the NBA is gonna like. 'Cause I do agree. There's some cases where like obviously they're gonna find teams for like sitting guys, but I don't know. Some of it's like their whole like these teams like players they're just you know all injured. Like it's just something that you know with the amount of games they play, it's definitely showing the after effects this season already in the regular season. Because last year in the playoffs, it was definitely noticeable a little bit. Obviously, Halliburton and you know Tatum and whatnot, and
Giannis, I think Giannis got hurt again.
yeah,
Mhm.
and but I think it is going to be at least the potential trade changes to maybe how the draft process goes with the lottery. Um, yeah, so Adam Silver listed 7 potential changes. One of them is first round pick can only be protected. Can be protected only top 4 or top 14 plus. Lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or at a later date. No longer allowing teams to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. I don't mind that one.
Yeah, 3 is the best one.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
I also have a question I want to raise too. I think this is the problem or comment. This is a problem too with the 65 game minimum. Everybody, nobody's going to qualify. LeBron, Curry, Jokic probably is not going to qualify. So who's going to be first team All American, a first team All NBA?
Yeah.
I don't know who you're going to put on there. Wemby's is coming close. He was hurt. Jokic is out. Like I said, Jokic, SGA depends. So I don't know who's going to come in. I don't know what they're. I have to look at a roster.
Yeah. I mean,
Jaylen Brown is going to finish MVP.
Brown, Caleb Cunningham, yeah.
Yeah,
If
definitely
Wemby plays again, if he keeps playing, keeps healthy,
Yeah.
Right. It definitely hurts like NBA like statistics.
I know.
For sure. I'm just gonna write off the last 4 things that potential solutions. So teams can't pick top 4 the year after making the conference finals. Lottery allocated based on 2-year records. Lottery extended to include all play-in teams. Flattened odds for all lottery teams. They definitely should make they shouldn't do maybe one of these. They should maybe do like a combination of a few. I think that's what Silver was potentially saying.
Just combine some of them into like one big resolution to it. That's what I would think they should do.
I think the not picking consecutive years in the bottom 4 would be the best one. The trade deadline, when you freeze at the records, I don't really get that one a lot because I think that hurts the trade deadline more than anything. Because then why should teams that are selling want to sell their players if the odds are already freezed? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say
doesn't help with their odds.
I would say
like
that one.
I like that.
I don't know if y'all watched the Dirt Sesh on YouTube.
Yeah.
Those guys are really good. And one of the guys on the Nerd Sesh proposed that they freeze the odds at the All-Star game or after the All-Star game.
Okay.
Then you go through the deadline. So I mean, that makes more sense.
I agree.
Another couple of weeks of real estate of game times.
Yeah. Chris, any thoughts about NBA all these NBA injuries and then obviously the anti-tanking rules, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I mean, I would I pretty much agree with everybody else has said. I think something needs to be done to stop it a little bit, especially the idea of just sitting all your stars at that point and all that. But some of the rules make a lot more sense than others, and I interested to see how it's approached by the players union as
Yep.
well, in some of these rule proposals, because
Yeah.
the NBA player union isn't nearly as strong as, obviously, for example, the MLBs, which will probably be coming up to the forefront within the next year, especially with some of the news that just came out of that with Tony Clark as well.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's
You know, so it seems like the NBA players union has less leverage.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see how they approach this specifically, and what the owners do as well. Because essentially, Adam Silver is supposed to represent the owners, and one would think the owners are gonna not like his anti-rule changes. So it'll be interesting to see how those two entities sort of come together to discuss it, and whether how much pushback there's going to be, and whether that leads to something more contentious or not. It's going to be interesting to watch, I think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Silver will do something just because, I mean, this year the product is just so bad all around. I know injuries have happened, but I mean, that game against the Jazz, and I think it was the Magic, where they were up 14 or whatever it was,
Yes.
going into the fourth
Yes.
quarter. They
Yes.
pull Laura, pull Jaron Jackson, they pull everybody. Like that just can't happen, man. That's
No,
unbelievable.
that's a horrible
It
look
would
for
be
the
really
people.
funny if they ended up with a really bad pick this year after they did all that. That would really make my day. But I mean, the
Yeah.
product this year has just been awful. I feel like every night we're seeing wins by 20 plus, 30 plus. It's not competitive.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not even just the tanking teams too. Like there was a Celtics game, and ironically, they ended up winning it. So I guess you could argue, but they bench. I mean, their starting five outside of like one player, I didn't even know who they were, and I'm a Celtics fan. And I looked at the lineup, and I was like, "We're gonna get beat by like 80 here."
Who's this guy?
Like they're
Never heard of
resting
him.
anybody with any name. They ended up winning by like 20 points. It was ridiculous, and the
Yeah.
Suns didn't even sit their starters in that game.
Yep.
But I'm
Yeah.
just like, it just in general, just the idea of, all this load
Yeah.
management stuff, it hurts, not just the teams and obviously teams that are tanking, but just the product as a whole, and the NBA can't suffer that, like that, NBA is so far behind the NFL at this point, but really they're competing with, the MLB for for some market share, and as much as what the NBA does really well is like the short clips and like the viral moment, but they don't necessarily have great viewing numbers from start to finish.
Yeah.
Right.
And part of that is because of the quality of the games that they have going on, even the good teams, so we'll see what happens, I guess. But
Right.
Also, when Silver came out earlier before the season started and said, "Hey, if you don't have streaming services and you can't watch the games, then that's on you. You can watch the highlights." That shouldn't be your attitude towards games.
Yeah.
I forgot about
It's
that.
not television.
Yeah,
You
he
have
did
to-
come out and say
a lot of
that.
your viewing is, elderly people who can't access streaming services, or a lot of people who just don't want to pay for it. That's not the right mindset to have. It's been moving to streaming. Every other sport has, but you don't see any other commissioners saying that. So that definitely rubbed me the wrong way too. I think that's a big reason why you're starting to see these guys go down.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
Yeah, speaking of like good NBA teams, we have the Pistons leading in the forefront of the East, I'm pretty sure, and we've talked about before in other shows like who might get MVP. Like is it like SGA by default or Jokic? But they're kind of hurt right now, and I don't know. Other than obviously the name itself, like it's not like a huge candidate this year. But I mean, one of the candidates is Kate Cunningham because of how good he's played. Do you think with his regular season, like he can actually finish above the two guys I mentioned, like just off of name value with the voters?
I think so. Oh, my fault, Justin.
I don't think Jokic. I don't think he's going to have enough games to qualify. I think it's
There's too much time.
I think he's got one game left. And I hurt myself. I hurt my arm back to back. I mean, he's out. So Jokic's not going to qualify. SGA is a big favorite because it's like Andrew said. We said before, everybody else is out. All the other candidates are out.
Mhm.
So it kind of by default. But he played. He was so good against the Knicks last night. As a Knicks fan, I was in Manhattan last night. I saw the people come home from the Garden.
Mhm.
They were a pretty upset group over there, but they were unbelievable.
Yeah.
The
With
Pistons
no
with the Knicks
Duran
fan,
either because he's still suspended.
Yeah,
Yep.
Derwin, and then they lost the other. What's his name? I think Stewart. I think he was
Yep.
in there.
Two
Yeah,
best
whole-
centers you're without, and they
And they
still
beat
need
him up.
to
They
still
beat
beat them.
both the big guys. They beat him up. The Knicks are pretty good, and they beat him up. They they really had their way with them.
Yeah.
They played a heck of a game.
I would
Los
also
Angeles.
say too, watch out if Ant gets hot. If Anthony Edwards gets hot, and
I like him. He's a fun player. He's a
he
good guy to
gets,
watch.
he was the All-Star MVP. He might be in this race for MVP by season's end if he has the minimum games and if players like SGA and Jokic don't.
Yep.
I do think Cade has made a
But
strong case for his MVP. Because I think Cade Cunningham and the Pistons are the surprise story this year, other than the
Mhm.
Spurs. Those are the
Absolutely.
two surprise stories. No one I mean, you could see the Spurs coming because of
course.
what they had talent wise. The Pistons have been growing for the last couple years, but they finally ascended to this spot. And with Tatum out and Halliburton out in the East, the Pistons are probably going to be the new favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference. So that's where I'm at with the MVP talk.
I agree
Yeah,
with that.
yeah. And then I wanted to mention, I'm pretty sure LaMelo the other day got into another like car accident or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, Brandon talked about the Hornets a lot as his like sleeper team, but like I did see a topic floating around like, can LaMelo be like a centerpiece of like a playoff team or even like a championship team? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on just him and his off-field stuff? Or not even off-field. It's just
He's always got something going on. There's always
Yeah.
always some sort of
That whole
issue.
family, man. Leangelo, Lonzo. I mean, they've
Yeah.
always been in it since they were young. Always.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll see the car afterwards. Did you see his like the car after with his
Yeah, I
wheel
did. His
off the axle? Oh my god, it was so
yeah,
he was in a
I saw the
Lamborghini,
video
like,
too.
2
He ran a
hours
light
later,
and hit
they
some
posted.
poor guy.
Mhm.
Some poor guy to light. It's terrible. He's a heck of a player, but he's got to kind of stay out of trouble and kind of
Yeah, yeah.
Sharks got talent. They got Knipple. They got they got some good people.
I would say Knepp will probably be the guy they build around. So moving forward in that situation. So
He seems you could trust him.
Yeah.
He's so far so good. He's been no off court issues. He's been just
yeah,
have a good rookie season, kind of mind his business.
yeah.
The Hornets just need more depth. I mean, the starting five is really fun to watch. They can
Yeah.
shoot the three ball well, good paint. Like they have a lot of talent, just more depth. And I think Brendan, what you said earlier about the Pistons, taking that step. Hornets are in the same spot. It's just step
Yeah.
by step. See if they can get in the play-in tournament, get back in the
Exactly.
mix, and then next year you build off what you got.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the MLB, we have injuries to Jordan Westbrook and Pablo Lopez. What are your guys' thoughts on those two injuries?
So let me get the injuries first. So they're both like elbow.
Mhm.
Pablo Lopez completely tore his UCL, so he's out. He's going to need Tommy John. Westberg is a partially torn UCL in his arm, but they're going to get a shot.
Mhm.
Probably be back May.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
the Orioles have been getting killed already by injuries. That's two of their star infielders. And then Pablo Lopez obviously was the guy who came over from the Luis Arias trade a couple years ago with Miami.
Yeah.
I don't think the Twins were going to be any competitive this year. So while the injury, it's tough, I don't really think it affects them too much. Maybe he was a trade candidate at the deadline. As you know, pitching always goes for a premium. But for the Orioles, it's definitely crushing. They did a lot of work to rebuild that lineup this year. Added Taylor Ward, they added Pete Alonso, and losing Westberg. And I forget who else they lost in the infield.
It's somebody. I think.
Jackson Holiday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are two big time young pieces that they hope could develop into franchise
Mhm.
keystones, and losing both of those guys is definitely not easy for that team.
Yeah, they have a lot of young talent over there in Baltimore.
Mhm.
They have a great system. They got a lot of young people coming up, and gotta stay healthy. It's gonna be a good division. Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles. It's always a good division.
They
Tampa
won
Bay's
the
always-
Yankees today. Pete hit the only runs, hit a home run, and against the
nice.
Yankees into 6 innings. So they won the game today. Granted,
Spring
spring
training.
training,
Yeah, of course. Just kind of
Right. Yep.
get out
It was
healthy.
cool to see him get a standing ovation in today's game. That was cool to see.
Yeah, I caught that before I got on. I caught that
Mhm.
that clip.
Yeah, and then for college basketball, March Madness is slowly, or not slowly at this point, rapidly approaching.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A couple weeks.
Yeah, and then we have a potential top prospect, Darren Peterson from Kansas. He's been sitting out second half, and it's not due to like any sort of coach decision or anything like that. It's kind of the player taking himself out, like. And even in big games, like you don't really see a lot of top prospect do it like multiple times, like in a row or in a season. Like, is this gonna potentially affect his? I mean, I would say even like draft stock, just because you're not playing the whole game. Like,
Something to think about. They
Well,
definitely, talk to the guy.
Just look at the Arkansas-Alabama game the other day. Darren Acuff played 50 minutes on like he was in a walking boot. He was in a walking boot 2 days before. And he played 50 minutes that same night. That same night, it was the last Peterson incident where he had he took himself out after hitting a three against Oklahoma State
for a cramp or something. It wasn't life threatening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's a great. I know it's a great draft. They got the BYU guy. What's his name?
The Bansta.
Yeah, that guy. He's good. It's a really good top four. So if you're like the Utahs or like
I would say it's top 7. Really good top 7.
It's a really good draft class this year.
This is a loaded draft. This is a loaded draft.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of. If you're tanking, you got some good people. Got some good people to kind of Boozer, from Duke. So there's a lot of good people out there to get.
Yeah, and then to wrap off this news, Brandon, you want to talk Winter Olympics real quick? I did hear about the I forgot her name, but she won the figure skating, I think.
Oh yes, Liu won first women U.S. woman to win in a long time in the figure skating program. That was good for the U.S. Also, Amber Glenn came back from 13th in the short program to finish 5th in the whole competition after her free skate. She was in the bronze position for a while, but she got knocked out in medal contention with the last couple of runs. Michaela Schifrin, Justin, I saw your article on that.
She finally broke, kind of broke the curse.
Broke the curse the last couple of years.
Good for her.
She broke that curse. Got the gold in slalom. The fastest, I saw a stat where it was the fastest, the widest margin in a slalom race in the last few Olympics.
Oh, I didn't see that. It's good.
Widest by far. Michaela even commented on the guy saying it too. It was pretty cool. So good for Michaela. The U.S. women's hockey won on a thriller goal against Canada. Keller, the defender, does the toe drag over to the right, shoots through the goalkeeper through the middle. Hillary Knight dramatically tied the game to send it to OT. So U.S. women won gold for the first time since 2018 in the women's hockey. U.S. women's curling is in the medal rounds of that. The men got eliminated in curling. Other news in the Olympics. Trying to think what
men's hockey's playing for the gold.
Yeah, they're
playing for Canada on Sunday. Yep.
Yeah, that would be the final.
U.S. against Canada, the first thing since the Miracle on Ice. I was reading.
Yeah, it'd be the opportunity to win the first gold medal, but
that's big for this country, big for America.
It's big. So the U.S. men's Olympic dreams are still alive there. Oh, Alex Ferreira. I think that was the one that won the men's half pipe ski gold medal today with his final run of 93 in that. So we had that. The half pipes, the U.S. did pretty well in 2 of them. The women's the women's half pipe with Chloe Kim earlier in the Olympics, and then today with Ferreira winning the gold. I think that's mainly the ones I remember off the top of my head for right now. But yeah, the U.S. Canada men's hockey will be the final event of the Olympics at 8:10 a.m. on NBC. that'll be the final event as it's before the closing ceremony, the last event before the closing ceremonies. So that'll be a fun
Yeah.
watch for everyone.
Yeah, and then before we move on to the part 2 of our NFL free agent preview, the QR code I showed up before, that's for our website, Total Apex Sports. You can, catch up on all the sports coverage and as well into the weekend, and stay tuned, and also like and subscribe to this YouTube channel when it's posted, and comment, share, do all that. But anyway, let's get into the first part. So we kind of talked a little bit about Tyler Linderbaum. In another show before, I really hope that he doesn't go, because that would be probably the second biggest mistake the Ravens staff has made since extending Mark Andrews, because I still don't understand that. But at this point, it is what it is. Also, like Isaiah Likely might walk, which is not might. It's probable that he won't resign. So it's not a good start for. Well, if Likely walks, but they keep Linderbaum, then it doesn't even it out per se. But I would be more okay with it. But if Linderbaum walks, you gotta draft a center in the top in the first round probably. Like, I know you could find guys like on day 2 maybe, but I don't. They already had to address the guard and center. Like, they already had to address the guard position anyway. So this doesn't help either if they let him walk. So I just had to mention that there. We have Rasheed Walker from the Packers. He's a young tackle. The Green Bay has a lot of depth on the offensive line, and obviously I think they might just let him walk because they're looking for a big-time deal. Some of the Bills guards are also hitting free agency. I think they're center too. And then I saw this storyline on the website with all the Browns starting offensive linemen are hitting free agency. Like, that is. I know they weren't good last year, but they also did get hurt and everything.
Yeah.
And then we have a few young tackle/guard types with AVT and Zion Johnson from the Chargers. I think it was Vera Tucker. He was dealing with a lot of injuries, and Zion Johnson didn't have a good year last year. But with those young guys, like, they could always go on another team and just benefit from the scheme and whatnot, and then improve as a player. And then the other veteran tackle I had to mention was Braden Smith from the Colts. And then before we get to interior defensive line, real quick, I guess what are your thoughts on some of these like free agents for offensive line? I wouldn't see it as like depth. It's kind of not ideal to get your starter, because if they flame out, you have to kind of just cut or trade them after 1 year. It's tough.
Yeah, Wyatt Teller for the Browns is going to be a big one. Thinking about it, he's probably going to be leaving Cleveland, so whoever signs him could get a difference maker if they need depth at the right guard spot. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add. I think y'all had it pretty handy.
Yeah. And then real quick for defensive end and defensive tackle, we have Calais Campbell. I'm pretty sure he's like 38. He's still doing it. And he's entering free agency. And then Cameron Jordan, I'm pretty sure he's like 36, 37.
Yeah,
I believe they're up there. They've been there for like 15 years. They've been fighting, making a difference.
Yeah,
you could add Brandon Graham to the category too. I'm just saying he might.
Yeah, Brandon Graham. Yeah. Compared to all the other defensive tackles in the market, from what it seems, it looks like you better draft that position. There are a lot of candidates though for this year's coming draft to do that. Moving on to the more prevalent position with edge rushers, there's actually a decent amount of players, I would say. Like, obviously Trey Hendrickson. Um, I think last year he got franchise tagged.
Yep.
They might tag him again, but I don't know. I don't think the Bengals are going to end up paying him. And then you have the Chargers edge rushers with Khalil Mack and Odafe Owe. And then I think Owen definitely going to get that big payday they was looking for with Baltimore. And I'm kind of surprised the Chargers don't seem like they're going to even usually if you trade for a player, you intend on extending him right away, but they didn't do that. I guess maybe for a prove it deal, and he went from the Ravens with 0 sacks to I think 6 sacks to end of the year in half a season. So he's definitely going to get money from somewhere. And then you have Kwity Paye from the Colts, Boye Mafe from the Super Bowl winning Seahawks. He's been a big impact for them, but they do have a lot of depth, so I can see them maybe tagging him, or just not bringing him back because he's going to want a lot of money. And then, Joey Bosa with the Bills, he also had an injured season, but to be honest, that's kind of been the norm for him, his whole career. I
think the rumor on Bosa right now is he wants to reunite with Nick in San Francisco. I think that's the rumor I heard.
That makes sense.
They need it too with injuries.
The whole team is hurt. They're by that what do you call it? That substation. Everybody's got contamination or whatever it is. The radio. I don't even know. Some crazy investigation they're doing. The whole team is always hurt. The whole team has got injuries.
And now they got the most travel next year by far with the 2 international games.
I complain. Australia and
Mexico City.
That's horrible. That's brutal. And you're in California, so you come East Coast anyway. New York, Baltimore, you're still coming.
They got Atlanta long trip, and I think Buffalo is a long trip. I think those are the 2.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
And then we have Jalen Phillips from your Eagles, Brandon. Do you think they're going to bring him back, or you rather see them going after a Bradley Chubb for cheaper maybe, or another player?
I'd rather them go after Phillips if they can, because I like what he did this year, and I want to see it for a full season. But if Howie decides if that's not going to be the right money situation, he could always pivot to get a Bradley Chubb. And like I talked about on Tuesday, a little bit, I think Chubb is the perfect budget option for a 1-year flyer in Philadelphia. Yep. So
especially because of the familiarity with Fangio too, Denver and Miami. My only problem with Phillips, Brendan, I don't know if you can relate. To me, he's a guy that gets a lot of pressures but doesn't get a lot of sacks. I would rather go after Chubb, who can get home. I mean, he had, I think, 7.5 or something along the lines of that, which is still solid. But I mean, if I'm the Eagles, I want to pay money for sacks, not pressures. But I agree with you. I like what Phillips did last year. I just think that Chubb, is the better option. But like I said, and Howie we trust, man. So he'll get the job done.
Yeah, he'll get the job done. I think Howie's going to make the right decision either way. So.
Yep.
Yeah. I think another name, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the trade. I'm going to have a trade slide later. I've heard rumors about Kayvon Thibodeau with the Giants. He could be, he could be a guy that could be moved, but for the Patriots, I know Harold Landry's still on a 3-year deal, but it seems to me that they are lacking another guy. Chris, do you think they go after the draft for that position, or maybe free agency?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know if I have an answer right now. I'm curious to see. I think so much of the beginning of the free agency is going to determine everything. You know what I mean? And so I'm curious to see where they go with it. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not fully versed in college football, so I don't know I don't know how good the draft is in certain positions right now. Outside of the top few. So I don't know how well that could fill needs for certain teams. I'm just gonna be real with you. That's probably not the best question for me. You know what I mean? But I am curious to see, because obviously, I think some of the teams that have a lot of money right now are going to very much dictate what every other team ends up going and which route they end up taking. So like specifically, I'm thinking of like Tennessee, who's in a very similar place to what the Patriots were last year.
Yep.
Teams like that. It'll be interesting to see who and what they grab up. From free agency, because they can really control the entire conversation, I think, and they
Right.
have a lot of work to do on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I if they end up in a bidding war, they can pretty easily beat other teams, I guess is where I'm trying to go. So it just depends on how active and how aggressive they are, and what other teams are looking for at that point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like like they have Caleb on Chase on, like he's a pending free agent. In the league. So I thought he had a okay year. Like he was kind of a name that was like sort of like a draft bust. He went from Jacksonville to like Tennessee, then to the Patriots. So like, yeah, obviously like if I were then like retaining it, probably ideal. But yeah, we'll see that market. Moving on to the linebackers, we have Devin Lloyd who had a career season with the
Mhm.
Jaguars, and then a few veterans like Demario Davis, Levante David, and Bobby Wagner. Um, I'm not slike how much value those guys have in today's league. I'm being honest, because we still have like the slide mentioned with Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, Leo Chanel. Those guys are all like in their prime. Like they
Yeah.
should
Mhm.
be valued top dollar. We have a few other veterans like K and L for the Falcons. I heard his name a lot for like when we played the IDP Fantasy Football League. Like he always ended up having a lot of tackles.
Yeah.
Matt Milano, Quincy Williams, and then we have this was updated later, but um, yeah, we have Von Miller as an edge rusher for this. But I guess what notable names do you see hitting free agency or getting re-signed to their teams?
I think Jacksonville should re-sign Devin Lloyd. He was a
Yep.
key. He was a key for them this year in their resurgence on that defensive side of the ball, over the middle. I will say probably Nakobe Dean will probably get moved, just because of what Philly has done, drafting Jihad
Yep.
Campbell and then Jeremiah Trotter, and then still having Zach Bond. They still got plenty of linebacker depth and everything. So for me, I think Nakobe, and I love Nakobe. Don't get me wrong, as an Eagles fan, I love what Nakobe Dean has brought to this team over the last few years of his career. But I just think he's going to get signed somewhere. Somewhere he's going to get paid, and I think Howard's is going to keep what they got in Jihad and Zach Bond starting and Jeremiah as depth. So I think that's what's going to happen with the Philly linebacker situation. I could be wrong, and we still have 17 repping the Midnight Green or Kelly Green next year, but I think it's going to be in another uniform for Nakobe Dean. Quincy Williams is another one that's probably going to go elsewhere. He's a good one, and that's the thing too. Like you could see Dean in a Dallas uniform, and you can see Quincy Williams in a Dallas uniform, and it would not shock me either way, because of the Dean is because of the connection with Christian Parker, the new defensive coordinator that Dallas hired from Philly, running the system. He probably would want to bring a linebacker that knows that system and knows it well to that defense. But Quincy Williams is because he's Quinion's brother, and I could see that happening, the family dynamic, if they only had to choose one. Now, Dallas might have a little bit more cap room. They might be able to get both of them. Who knows? But they have to handle the George Pickens situation, as we talked about last week, as well. So it'd be interesting what Dallas does at the linebacker spot.
Yeah. Moving on to the secondary, we have the Bears guys. They all had. I thought the Bears secondary was like very good. It was an underrated part of their defense. The pass rush was a little lacking, but the secondary guys all showed up. Obviously, same with Seattle. Those guys got to get paid. I'm not sure if they get them all back, but we'll see. And then we have some veteran corners: Alontae Taylor from the Saints, Jamel Dean from the Bucks, and Trayvon Diggs. I don't know what he is at this point. If he couldn't even.
I don't know.
Yeah,
He signed with Green Bay for a game, and he got cut after that. So it was
yeah. Yeah, and then we have some younger cornerbacks with Montaric Brown from the Jags, Cordell Flott from the Giants, Greg Newsome, who was involved in the trade with the Jags with I forget the other cornerback's name, but I know he got re-signed in Cleveland, but the Jags didn't re-sign Newsome, so he's a pending free agent. And then Eric Stokes and Roger McCreary, like some other starters, but not like any big name, but they're looking for their a bigger contract, obviously, than what they got. And then we have the Chiefs defensive backs with Brian Cook, the safety, and Jalen Watson, the corner. They'll probably, actually, with the Chiefs cap space, I don't know if they're going to be able to bring them back even.
Well, they did restructure Mahomes' deal. They opened like $43 million cap room, but still, I think they're still like not a great cap space situation.
No, even with that, it's not a great situation.
I think they're still in the negative. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of work to do in terms of if they want to even bring back Tyreek Hill, who we talked about on Tuesday. Like they got a lot of stuff they have to figure out cap wise, even with the Mahomes restructuring. And then we got the Bengals defensive backs, Cam Taylor-Britt and Geno Stone. I actually think, this is more of like a Madden scheme perspective, but Taylor-Britt, he's pretty young still. He had a few bad games for the Bengals, but I'm pretty sure he could potentially. He has the size, the speed, the build. He could turn around with a new team. And then we can go with safeties. Cameron Curl for the Rams, who had that pick against the Bears. Jalen Thompson, the Cardinals, and then Hawkins for the Patriots, and then Blankenship with the Eagles. Brandon, do you think they're gonna not be able to bring back Blankenship, or that's probably?
I think that's the priority is bring back Blankenship. Out of the defensive guys, I think that's priority. Like the high priorities to bring back Reed as the veteran leader of that safety group. Because they still got Makuba and they got Epps, but I think they'd rather have Blankenship out there still than Epps at this point. So I think Blankenship is a priority, and you kind of not want to disconnect the exciting Whites and him and at this point. So I think they kind of want, if they can get the right deal for Blankenship, that's the key. Also, a couple key free agents as well to keep an eye on. Is the rumors is that Denzel Ward is going to get released at some point by Cleveland. Maybe they save some cap room, and then Marshawn Lattimore already got released as well by the Commanders. So so that's a couple corners that got added to this deep free agent class at corner to keep an eye on as well. Just wanted to mention that as well.
Right. This is normally a position you just target in the draft. Also, this draft class is pretty deep with them. Actually, I saw in Daniel Jeremiah, or I think him or Bucky Brooks, in their top 50 players, they had 20, 25 secondary players. They had a lot of. It's pretty loaded at that position. But moving on, we can talk special teams. There's not that many years where you talk special teams for free agency or and whatnot. But obviously the Cowboys have to bring back Brandon Aubrey. He's the best.
That's priority number one for them. Probably get him on a good deal. So
I'm kind of shocked they haven't even a deal hasn't even been done yet, because I don't think waiting is maybe they want to tag him, but
why would you tag the kicker? Why would you tag the kicker? They already said they were going to tag Pickens.
That's what Jerry Jones thinks to do. Tag Aubrey instead of Pickens. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. He's got poor roster management.
Right, and then I had to mention the punter, Jordan Stout. He actually had a very good year this year for the Ravens. The past year, surprisingly, so they should bring him back, and then mention a bunch of backup quarterbacks because with the shortage of starting quarterbacks in the NFL, like
Yep.
and in the draft, like Mac Jones, Jacoby Brissett, like both those guys they should be like considered
Oh
to
yeah.
be like starters, like at least for another like one more time, And then I just mentioned a bunch of backup quarterbacks with Tyson Bagent with the Bears. Ryler, I think he's gonna get moved.
For sure.
Yeah, so it's gonna depend on where he goes. And then Drew Lock, I mentioned him because of Jalen Milroe. Like, I just don't see a reason to keep him on the team. I know they did before the draft because obviously you don't know if you're going to be able to get somebody. And then Tanner McKee too. Just I mean, well the Eagles have another backup, right?
They have. So they technically have Sam Howell. Technically, still, I think.
Still,
he might be a free. I think Howells might be on the free agent, but I think the thing with McKee is the game he played against Washington that last week. My estimation, just because of how bad he played in that game.
Oh yeah,
because like he was coming off the 2024 season where he was balling, and the last couple of games, and people were like, "Oh, will they trade Tanner McKee? Will they keep Tanner McKee? Will he be the backup? This, that, and the other." And then throughout the season, they were like, "Give Tanner a shot." And when Jalen was having hit some of his struggles, even though Jalen wasn't really struggling that much, when you look at the film, nothing was really open. Just because how bad the offense was designed. And then you saw that in the Commanders game. After Devontae went out of the game because they got his milestone of 1,000 yards, no one was getting open. There was nothing open on the field. And McKee threw, I think, 2 picks in that game. 2 like dumb picks in that game. They were not the greatest throws and decisions. So his value got decreased because of that. So I don't think McKee's a trade candidate this season, off season.
No,
and that's probably
I'd be surprised.
And that was probably one of Howie's biggest disappointments of this whole season, other than the anemic offense, was him not being able to have that as a trade chip for draft picks, probably in the back of his mind. So,
yeah. Moving on, real quick, I heard some of these names, potentially could get moved either this offseason or before the trade deadline next year. We have AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Brian Thomas Jr., which I've mentioned his name before, but I've mentioned his lack of chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, and then DJ Moore. That's just kind of been a thing with Caleb and Ben Johnson. It was weird to see his fit in that offense, and then they kind of lack some chemistry compared to like Roma Dunze's first half of the year was phenomenal. I know if he fell off after the injury, and then even when he came back, but still you usually prioritize those younger players, and then veterans like Michael Pittman, and then Quentin Johnston actually had a revived career year. I know he might be looking to get paid in the following offseason, so he could be a trade chip with Ladd McConkey there, and they drafted Trey Johnson, who they didn't really use. And then the bigger one is some of the Steelers pass rushers, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, because every year it seems is TJ Watt gonna get traded? But he just signed the extension, so it's he's definitely not gonna get traded. But some of the other guys, that are there, they could get maybe moved with a whole new regime and everything. No Mike Tomlin and all that. But the big name at corner was Trey McDuffie. He's looking to get paid in the coming year, and the Chiefs cap space he could be moved on to. But yeah, first, like to the Eagles fans, we got to discuss the AJ Brown thing real quick.
Brandon, I'll let you go first on that.
Me?
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Look, you hired Sean Mannion here, who's I think he's going to do really well in his first year in Philadelphia. You don't bring a guy like that on board if you're going to move AJ Brown. Also, if you're Howie, you had cap problems last year with CJ Gardner-Johnson getting traded, and you're telling me you're going to take on all that dead cap money for probably a first-round pick, where you're not really going to draft a really high-impact player. I just don't see why. I keep him on it. I think a lot of his frustrations last year were warranted because it was just awful. Patul didn't know what he was doing.
Yep.
Sirianni couldn't step in because he's a CEO type guy, and I don't think he could take charge of an offense. But I think with more motion, it's on Jalen Hurts to perform. Give it one more year and you see what you got. I would think it would be really stupid to move off from AJ Brown, especially with a lot of teams in wide receiver help because they're in a really good spot when it comes to their receiving core.
Yep. I feel the same way. Obviously, you don't trade a guy that has had probably the best 4-year stretch that any Eagles receiver has had in their career in Philadelphia. You don't trade that just because of one kind of a down year that still had 1,000 yards. Like let's remember, he still had 1,000 yards last year. Now, granted, Devontae ended up leading the team in receiving because of that last game I mentioned earlier with McKee. But at the same time, Sean Mannion is going to be the guy responsible for creating an offense that could cater to Jalen Hurts' skill set and will cater to the involvement of the passing game, which has been needing in the city since 23. It's been stagnant. Even in 24, I have been saying Jalen had a good year in 24. And technically this year, he still had a decent, good season. 33 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions, probably like over 3,000 passing yards. So the passing yards was higher than the Super Bowl year when you really think about it. This year, when it was all stagnant and struggling and same hitches, like hitch, over 600 hitches. It's crazy.
It's very true.
I say the word hitch so many times, and Jason Kelsey mentioned it on the New Heights breakdown of the hitch routes. Eagles fans have been complaining about hitches all year long, so that's where I'm at with that.
The offensive creativity this year just wasn't there. It was too much for running the ball. You know what Hurts is. He's not going to throw the ball 45 times and throw for 300 yards every week like Mahomes or Burrow or Herbert, whoever. But you have to cater to his needs, and if you want Jalen Hurts to perform, why would you trade his best receiver? Those two things don't align. You know what I mean? So I would keep AJ Brown.
That's true.
I think Howie will test the market and see what he can get for him.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to take on the dead cap. They did it with Carson Wentz all those years ago. They're not going to do it again, even though it'll be different. It's
that's how you got AJ Brown, was that dead cap from Carson Wentz. That's how you got him. That's how you got him. So it's not.
And you see the Titans, while they their quarterback play has been questionable. Their receiving core has been awful since. Like, you're telling me they wouldn't redo that trade, instead of taking Treylon Burks. Like, you got to keep talent when you have it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
So we're at with that.
Yeah. And then the kind of like the next 20, 30 minutes, I kind of want to designate for this. So my friend Scott, he's not a writer or or anything like that, but he is I actually think he's an NBA head per se, let's just say. So he kind of just sends a list about top NBA finals or top NBA players ever, but in group chats and whatnot. And I kind of wanted to see what your opinions on them were. So starting off, he had the top 20 NBA players ever. Obviously, the conversation is always going to be LeBron or Jordan at 1. He has LeBron at 1, then Jordan at 2. Then at 3, he has Kareem, 4, Kobe, 5, Tim Duncan, 6, Steph, Curry, 7, Larry Bird, 8, Magic, 9, Shaq, 10, Hakeem, 11, Wilt, 12, Bill Russell, who we mentioned earlier. 13, KD, who's been in the media for other reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. 14, Kevin Garnett. 15, Jokic. 16, Isaiah Thomas. Which is more like, I guess, in their prime. Like, that's what he's saying, like the top 20 in their, like, obviously not full career necessarily, but in their prime. 17, we have Dirk. 18, Jerry West. 19, Moses Malone. And 20, we have Giannis. Whoever wants to go first can go ahead.
I can go real quickly. The simple thing is, I think Kobe Bryant's too high at number 4. That seems a little too high. That definitely stood out to me at first. I also don't know if Giannis is a top 20 player. We talked about this off the air before we came on. I think top 20 may be a little bit with one championship and basically no other deep playoff runs. I don't know if for Giannis being 20 is justified. But those two stuck out. Off the top of my head, Kobe and Giannis being too high up. So that stuck up initially on my first.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I think for me, the same thing. I would have like players like Scotty on there as well over Giannis, just because of what Scotty did with Michael. I would have Scotty on that list somewhere. Dirk was too low for me. Just because of what Dirk did for that Mavericks franchise. I would have him personally over KG. At 15, I would have him actually probably 14. To be honest. Kobe, I agree with Justin about the Kobe thing. I mean, Kobe is I think for me, Kobe would be 6 all time, and I would have probably like Duncan at 5 or Shaq at 4 and Duncan at 5. That's what I would do. Just switch that around.
I like that.
But
I think Steph was 6. That's too high, or 7.
Yeah.
That's too high.
That's if he kept the resume, if he got one more, he'd probably have the argument because how he changed the game.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
But at the same time, I would still have him like 7 to 8 all time right now. So
yeah, I have a question with Steph, right? So he's dealing with this injury. I think he's going to be a pending free agent next year. Or this offseason, if he doesn't go to Golden State and he wins with like another team, let's just say, would that really cement him at like that spot, or would he still need maybe a few more?
Championship? A 5th one will be nice with a second franchise. That's always good. With second franchises, it's always hard to get. But he's not leaving Golden State though. But
he'll never leave there. He'll stay there for the right.
Yeah, he wants to be a Warrior for life. Like a one franchise guy.
Right. I mean, the problem with Golden State is that they've been chasing stars for so many years. They just haven't been available. Like, we'll see if Giannis becomes available this offseason, like, for legit, and if they move him, which I don't think it happens, because I think, Giannis is another guy who wants to stick with one franchise for his entire career. I don't know. It would kind of hurt Steph's legacy for me if he left Golden State and seeing him in another uniform.
Yeah.
Brock was okay because he went to the Heat, went back to Cleveland. You've seen it before. But Steph, it's weird.
I agree with that. It wouldn't look right. It doesn't look right. See him on well, I guess he's from Charlotte, but I guess that's but he's not going.
Imagine him on the Hornets with Con Knipple. What about that backcourt, huh?
Pretty good shooting. Not too bad.
Curry, Brandon Miller, and Con Knipple.
I forgot about Brandon Miller. Yeah, that'd be a fun team. The old guys with the young guys. That'd be fun.
Nick was mentioning that in the other show the other day.
He's a Hornets fan. So.
Yeah, and then I guess the last, I have 2 final thoughts on this. So with Jokic, right? To me, as kind of a newer NBA fan, actually getting into it, not watching casually or whatever. He's the best player I've ever seen. On the court, I
get that.
What would he have to do to get into the top 10? Let's just say of all time.
It's tough because Jokic has already got he already got the MVPs. He won the championship, He might have to just get more titles. That's the thing.
2 or 3, maybe 3. or two,
Mhm.
at least
Yeah, I
two,
would
at
say
least,
he needs a lot more titles. Yeah.
at least one more, probably three. Because what, you can knock down like Kobe Bryant or something, knock out
No.
Larry Bird. I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know.
You can't.
Who's-
Yeah, you
He'd
gotta.
Shaq?
have to knock out Wemby or the Thunder. Like that would be impressive
Yeah.
to me if he would knock out Wemby, because that's a really deep team, upcoming team.
Yeah.
So especially the Thunder too. The Thunder are a powerhouse. So he'd have to go.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have to beat one of those guys, and I don't know if he's capable of doing that by himself.
Yeah, not with the roster that Denver's got right now. Like
Yeah,
Denver
no.
don't
No.
have a roster.
Yeah, they'll make a second round appearance or something.
Mhm.
You know, lose to a Denver, I lose to a Milwaukee, I lose to a San Antonio or
Yeah.
Thunder or somebody like that. Minnesota.
Yeah. And then the final thing for this list, he has Giannis at 20. We spoke pre-show. Who would you rather have if it wasn't for Giannis at that spot?
I'd put Karl Malone there. I mean, I think he deserves to be in there.
I like that.
think you can make the case for. I don't know if Dwayne. I don't think Dwayne Wade was on the list. I think
He
could
wasn't.
be in consideration for that. But Giannis, for me, he hasn't been healthy in the past couple of playoff runs. He
I
just
know.
hasn't been available. Like I
Yeah.
can't put
I
him
agree.
there. The best ability is availability. So
Yeah.
you have to have that. He hasn't been there.
I already said the best Robin to ever see in the league is Scottie Pippen.
Mhm.
I would have had Scottie in there. I would have D Wade in there. I honestly would have AI in there, even though he hasn't won a championship. But his
Good point. Yeah.
his prime was probably one of the best primes
Okay.
I've ever seen. Just because he won the MVP in 01 in a year that Shaq was still dominant for the Lakers. That
Mhm. Yeah.
Allen Iverson 2000-2001 MVP season, probably one of the best seasons by a guard that we've ever seen in the league, and it hasn't been replicated really since SGA last year. Last year was the closest thing I've seen scoring wise to what Allen did in an MVP run, and then Jordan. Obviously, Jordan was legendary, in his MVP years, but like I said, Allen Iverson is probably an underrated one. I know, granted, because all time you got to think, oh, he's ringless. It's the same thing with CP3 in all time discussions too. Like,
Yeah.
he's ringless. I don't think he's, you don't think of him in the top, top of all positions. Now, I would have him considered as an all-time player just because the way he played and won and got to the playoffs most years in his career. He only missed the playoffs really in the last 2 years, like with the Spurs last year and then this year with the Clippers. Like he got released in the middle of the season. Every other year he had, and the Warriors the year before that, they didn't make the playoffs. But every year from his start of his career on his rookie year, they didn't make the playoffs. But from like 07 to 21, 22, he made the playoffs. So, or was on a playoff contending team. So that's just the straight level of winning as a point guard that hasn't been replicated and probably won't be replicated because of the parity in the Western Conference, especially. So
Yeah. That's a much better conference. San Antonio, OKC, Minnesota. It's going to be loaded.
Yeah.
Much better conference.
The three names you mentioned, Brandon, I don't know that much basketball history, but I've heard those names before. I was kind of surprised he didn't have those guys in there. But yeah, we can go over to the top finals from the 2010 to last year, 2025. So you have a good 15-year sample size. So let's just run through this. So my friend usually rates these off of like watchability. Like he's a Knicks fan, but he based on this list, he's not really biased or anything. Obviously, well, based on the Knicks history, like I don't know, if, like other than the last maybe 2-3 years, they haven't really been that good. But
Yeah.
he because I was watching the last two finals and it was very. At least the last year was very entertaining. But yeah, we had Indiana and Halliburton and the Pacers. That run was awesome and it was very close. He admitted that it was very good basketball, actually really good basketball to watch, and had that A tier. But obviously, OKC won that year. We go to 2024. Dallas was overmatched by a really solid Boston team. Jason Tatum's first ring felt very anticlimactic. And then with Jaylen Brown winning MVP, He considered that D tier because it was not really that close. We had Chris on before. He's a big Celtics fan, but he can give us his explanation at another video. In 2023, it wasn't that close, but Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets carried that team, that 8 team, to the finals. Otherwise, it was completely mid in terms of the on-field play. Jokic and Denver were a fun team to root for, but overall, it was more like C tier with them, the Nuggets winning. 2022, it was a good finals, B tier, closest series between two solid teams. The Warriors and Steph Curry was their last push to make another run. And he considered that B tier. I guess before we go to 2021, any thoughts on those rankings?
Those I would maybe put the Dallas Boston at C,
Maybe.
D tier. But other than that, those are fine.
That's solid. That's a good start for us. That's solid.
Yeah, I would say I watched way more NBA the last 3-4 years, and then when we get into 2021 and before, that's kind of up till 2015, 2016 with Cavs Warriors. That's the last time since. But yeah, I miss the 2021 Bucks team. He considered that a tier grade, I guess, because it was between two solid teams. It was close with the 6-game series, had a lot of memorable moments. That was the year Giannis won MVP, I'm pretty sure. And then he had the block and the dunk, and he also had a 50-point game in the playoffs or in the championship, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, so that was actually in the finals?
Yeah.
The
I
closeout.
think that was it wasn't a closeout. It was the one before the closeout game. But it was the one last in Milwaukee. He had 50.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because they closed it out in Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's true.
Were the Suns and Bucks good playoff teams before this period, or were they just? It was a kind of a 1 year.
So the thing was with the Suns and Bucks, injuries played a role in that playoff series, in that playoff run for both teams. They ran into the Suns, for instance, ran into a unhealthy LeBron and Westbrook team in the first round and swept them. They had Jokic in the second round, which I think Denver was fully healthy, but they weren't like the Denver that won a couple years later. Then the Western Conference Finals, the Suns had the Clippers team without Kawhi Leonard. So no Kawhi to get. So they had the road for the Suns wasn't the toughest. And then when you look at Milwaukee, that was the year Durant got hurt with his not 19, but he got hurt, and then Kyrie got hurt. So they lost, Harden got hurt. Sorry, they lost Harden and Durant in that series against Milwaukee. In the Eastern Conference Final, or I think it was the Eastern Conference semis, and then they faced the Hawks team that wasn't ready in the conference finals. So the path for both teams wasn't the most challenging, but the thing was they were the two best teams at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that got there because they were the two healthiest and they had all the talent. Suns were actually up 2-0 in those finals, and then Milwaukee won the last four when you go into the block by Giannis on Ayton, and then the sealer was the Holiday steal on Booker late in that game. Probably would have gone 7 if it probably would have either been a Phoenix series winner or a 7-game series if those two plays don't happen. So
agreed.
Okay, yeah. And then, going back to 2020, talk about LeBron. He still had it at this point, and he overmatched the Heat. But, Jimmy Butler versus LeBron, that's a good back and forth. That was the bubble finals, which was actually, the good part about that season, other than, the regular season, with the Lakers winning. But yeah, that was more of like a B tier finals.
Mhm.
And then 2019 we have the claw with Kawhi Leonard and on the Warriors, well, against the Warriors, and then KD was on there, but he got hurt.
Yeah, that was the one that he tore his Achilles. He had a calf strain in the Western Conference Finals
Yeah.
that year against Houston. He had a calf strain. They were monitoring his health. They got him to the finals. He came back in that game and played 30. He was electric for the first 13 minutes, and then he tears his ACL or his Achilles. Then later on in the series, Klay Thompson tears his ACL.
Yeah, that was terrible.
And it changed Klay for a long time. So that losing Durant hurt them, but losing Klay was the catastrophic blow in that series for them. So
yeah, but yeah, regarding that, like he had Warrior fatigue, but it was good for the Raptors to win. He called it a B tier finals. Also, kind of same like similar question, like was this like a 1 year thing with the Raptors? Like,
yes,
I know they had Leonard, but
yeah, they traded for Leonard in the offseason. This was free agency year, so they traded for Kawhi from the Spurs for DeRozan and a couple other players on that team, the previous year's team. And so they got Kawhi out of the deal. Kawhi said to them, "I'm staying here for 1 year."
That's it.
And that's it. It's going to
You
be a
better
1 year.
win.
So that was the run. It was a 1 year run, and the rest was history. Kawhi signs with PG and to be a Clipper.
yeah,
That was a deep team too, man. That Raptors team they had really good depth. Really good depth.
Yep.
Yeah, they did a great roster. That was a hell of a team.
and
Great,
then
great club.
yeah, and then this section I'm just gonna call the Warriors dynasty or Warriors Cavs because 2018
Yeah.
Warriors Cavs fatigue. LeBron with Superman in the series. It was fun, but it was kind of notable that like the Warriors were they were just dominant. Even though 2018 LeBron was on a tear, called it a C tier finals, and then spoiler alert on this list, there's only one F tier team or F tier finals, and it was 2017. All he said was the Warriors had it sealed. It was the worst one.
So the JR gap that I said mentioned the pre-show, it was the 18 finals. So it wasn't
in that game won
the
LeBron
better
like 50
Mhm.
or whatever it was.
Yeah. And then the funny thing is, like, the year before, like, on this list, like, he only has one S tier finals, and that was the Cavs' first ring with LeBron, Kyrie, the 3-1 comeback. But yeah, that I do remember that one. But wow, that being the best finals on this list is kind of, I don't know, I wasn't expecting it, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. The thing is with that is the first finals 3-1 collapse that we ever had. And when you have that combined with what it means to the city of Cleveland, I can get why he had that the only S tier. But as we'll see, there's a couple more potential S tiers, that are on this list as we get down to the early 2010s. So.
Yeah. And then we had 2015, LeBron spectacular, but they didn't get it done, and that Cavs team had a lot of injuries, and the Warriors had it in the back, in the bag. Felt mid C tier. Was that the first Warriors finals or of that era?
That was the first one. Yeah, and the context with the cat. I think that same first round. So they went that whole run without the Love and Irving, that whole playoffs without them too.
Oh, okay. They had injuries again.
To the finals. And that was the Dellavedova famous finals of Dellavedova guarding Curry and almost dying.
Yeah, he needed oxygen or IV or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then, yeah, going to 2014, that was the Spurs winning. That was a B tier finals, doing 5-game series. Um, it was fun to see them like moving the ball around, and the Heat just didn't make it close. 2013, we got Ray Allen's shot, very close to a competitive series. That was when LeBron was on the Heat, right?
Yeah, that was the
Um,
Heatles. That was the second of the Heatles championships. So
Yep, back to
yeah,
back.
yeah, that was the A tier. Great basketball. LeBron was great in that series, and then 2012, he was considering like a C tier, like mid type finals with the Heat. They outplayed the young Thunder team and had a lot of Hall of Famers on it. And then we go to 2011, 2010. Dirk's run was cinematic, and the Heat had a collapse that was. I guess in this context, I don't know what cringe would mean, but that's how he would describe that collapse. Solid 6-game series, more of a B tier, and the Mavs played a great team ball. And then 2010, we got the great 7-gamer Celtics versus Lakers. The rivalry with that rivalry being renewed had a lot of Hall of Famers. That was A tier with the Lakers winning. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, like overall, what do you guys think about that list? And I guess in general, other thoughts.
I'm first going to say I lost connection when I was in the middle of that 2015, I think,
Okay.
Cavs. So I was going to say Dellavedova. That game with Dellavedova was crazy in 2015, where he basically had Steph in one of his worst shooting games ever. I would say the 2013 with the Ray Allen should be in S tier, just because how competitive each game in that series was. There was hardly any blowouts in each of those games, and you got like memorable moments, like in that one. Also, earlier in the series, you got LeBron's block on splitter. I think was that in that series, either that one or 2014, but I think it was that one in that finals where he had the block on splitter late. And then you had the Tony Parker game winner. Oh, no, that's the next year. I think the Tony Parker game winner's next year I'm thinking of. Earlier in the series. And then obviously LeBron's Game 7 was probably one of the best Game 7 performances before the 2016 finals. In finals history. Like that Game 7 by LeBron, he was just so clinical in that game, and you knew he was not losing that night. So that's just that series is S tier. I would also A tier, close S tier. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. Justin, do you have any thoughts overall on that finals list?
Yeah, I kind of circle back to what Brandon has said. With the Cavs comeback, the 3-1 comeback, because of how historic it was, definitely puts it higher up in the rankings. It meant like first Cleveland title like in 50 years or whatever it was, and LeBron going home. So I think that deserves an S tier. Because of what, like I said, it meant so much and things. So, and then I kind of agree with what everybody else said. There's a lot of other good finals on it. I enjoyed the Heat Spurs back to back with LeBron, and then Duncan, the old dynasty, and even last year's finals is going to go down. I'm surprised. I didn't think it would go 7 games, but the Pacers really pushed them hard.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a heck of a series. I enjoyed that.
I could tell it could go 7 once Halliburton hit that game winner in Game 1.
Yeah. When you saw that, it was meant to be. We can have a long thing. We're not going to be a short.
Yeah.
Long fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other Brandon, you want to chime in on potential thoughts
Brandon D.
on this?
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with everything that Brandon and Justin said. I mean, last year's finals, I was shocked. I mean, a lot of people thought it was going to be
that was
probably a clean sweep last year because they
I thought 5.
comparing, what the Thunder had to the Pacers team. I mean, that run last year by Indiana was great. The shot by Halliburton against the Knicks, where the three bounces up, top of the rim, Justin, then goes right back in with Reggie Miller standing there.
I do remember that. That sounds familiar.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
sounds
Yep,
a
it
little
was rough.
familiar.
I must say though, I would like to get you guys' opinion. I know I'm young, but the 2020 playoffs were some of the best basketball that I've watched in a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
every series felt like it was great. I don't know if it was just because guys felt like they were just playing in the gym with no fans. It was more
That
focused.
helps.
Yeah.
That was some of the best basketball I've ever seen. I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
remember the Jazz Nuggets series where Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray both shot for
Yeah.
50 games.
Yes.
It was
I
absolutely
forgot. I
ridiculous.
forgot about that. Absolutely, you're
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
Yep. So that was some of the best basketball I've ever watched. So that was though I think I like the list overall. I think it was pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree with everything there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
nothing else here.
Yeah, but we have, this is a pre-recording show. Our normal program is on the sports show is on Fridays at 7 Eastern. Yeah, and then Tuesday we have a 15-20 minute spotlight for the news and updates around the same time on Tuesday. But
Yeah.
Brandon, where can we find your stuff? And you can plug the site.
Yeah, so as the assistant sports site manager to Justin here, Total Apex Sports, we'll be writing fantasy once that gets merged, hopefully soon, and everything like that. Obviously, Twitter, that's my Twitter handle right there. Ellis Highlight Rail on TikTok. I'm probably gonna, I got some of the clips here. We'll be reposting on there, as well. And then BLS32 on Instagram as well. Be reposting some stuff there. So those where you can find me on socials.
Yeah, Justin.
Yeah, it's like Brandon said, like a lot of fantasy, NFL free agency, NFL draft, combine, March Madness, anything you're looking for. Total Apex Sports has it. NBA playoffs coming up in a couple of months. Anything you're looking for. Obviously, Olympics, like we talked before, the men's
Yeah.
Olympics, any Olympic stuff. I think there's only 2 days left, but everything you're looking for, we could try to accommodate any need you have. We could try to find it over there.
Yeah, Brandon D.
Yes, you can find me at Total Apex just like these guys. I specialize in baseball. Obviously, spring training starting today. Season starts in just over a month with the Yankees and Giants, so that'll be fun to cover. Obviously, NFL free agency, a big game on Sunday between Canada and U.S. I think it's going to be huge, especially if Crosby can get back out there and play.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this is next. March is the best month for everything, man. Hockey, basketball, baseball's in the mix. Got March Madness, everything's going. So
Agreed,
good month coming
agreed.
up.
Yeah, you can find me at my Twitter handle right there, and then you can use this QR code to the left of me to find the website. But yeah, at totalapexsports.com. But yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
All right, guys, take care.
See you guys.
See y'all next week.